Welcome to episode 2 of Hitler's Suicide, Reasonable Doubt. Today we're going to be talking about Heinz Linge, Hitler's valet, and Eva Braun, and what exactly she was wearing when she committed suicide. You can see right here for yourself. Here's a picture of Heinz Linge on the left after he was released from Soviet captivity in October of 1955. And um, one of the first times that he was quoted in the newspapers, here's what he says. Eva Braun was carried out by Major Gunsha. I can still remember. She was wearing a dark blue polka dot dress, light brown Italian shoes, and nylon stockings. On her wrist was the only jewelry she wore regularly, a platinum wristwatch studded with diamonds. It was a gift from Hitler many years before. Okay, well, I'm sure if you're familiar with the story of Hitler and Eva Braun's suicide, that you've heard this before. And Heinz Linge is noted. He's widely quoted. All sorts of interesting details came out of this man's mouth when he came back from Soviet captivity in 1955. And this one really caught my attention because it's so exact. You know, he noticed that she was wearing this beautiful platinum wristwatch studded with diamonds. It had been given to Eva Braun many years prior. Here's a nice picture of it. Eva there in the center, and on the back you can see it's inscribed. It's dated February the 6th of 1939, and it's signed by Adolf Hitler. You can see the front side of it on the right too. And in case you're wondering how I got a picture of this watch that was worn by Eva Braun when she was carried up to the garden and reduced to ashes, or burnt so badly that she was burnt beyond recognition. In case you're wondering how this watch that she was wearing at that time remains in such beautiful condition, well, let me show you. You know, when Hitler presented this diamond-studded platinum watch to Eva Braun on her 27th birthday, it was, it was the product of a very widely known, a world-renowned jeweler and watchmaker in Pforzheim, Germany, and he had it inscribed for the occasion. It still exists today, and it's in fine condition. No sign of any burning, no sign that it was ever, doused with benzene and lit aflame. It can still be found in the modern museum, the Pinakothek der Moderne in Munich. You can only see it, of course, with special permission, with a special appointment, and under strict supervision. I suppose you're wondering how the heck it got there. Well, I was too. I'm going to read to you first a quote from Eva Braun to her sister, Gretl. Gretl was married to Hermann Fegelein, so she's known as Gretl Fegelein at this point. This letter was written by Eva Braun April the 23rd, 1945. Here we go. My faithful Liesel will not leave me. I have suggested it so many times. I would really like to give her my gold watch. Unfortunately, my diamond watch is being repaired. I will give you the address at the end of this letter. With any luck, you should be able to get it back. It's for you. You have always wanted one for yourself. Let's hope that Morel landed safely at your place with my jewelry. The address of the watchmaker is SS Unterscharführer Stegemann, SS Lager Oranienburg, evacuated to Kairitz. Now, hold on a moment. If this letter was written by Eva to her sister on April 23rd, she's referring to the platinum watch that I showed you earlier The same one that Linge said was on Eva's wrist when she killed herself and was taken upstairs, out of the Führerbunker, out into the garden, and burned. However, that can't be true, because Eva Braun's watch was found in Denmark. August the 30th of 1945, a group of British and Danish intelligence officers found it on an SS man. An SS man trying to hide his identity, that he was an SS man. And he had it hidden in the lining of his jacket. This man has never been named. The identity of this SS man, to this day, has not been uncovered. Believe me, I looked. The British National Archives don't name this person. However, there are newspaper stories that abound about this particular incident. I mean, later on we see, if you could take a look here, you'll see that this same watch, the diamond-studded platinum wristwatch, was sent to the United States. Now, later on, this diamond platinum watch was sent back to Europe. It was put up for sale, as these things typically are, and ended up in the museum that I mentioned before in Munich. I think it's very entertaining. Antony Beevor is one heck of a writer, but boy, oh boy, does he get some things wrong in terms of the death of Adolf Hitler and Eva Braun. I just read to you here a section of one of his most famous books. Heck, it's a New York Times bestseller, The Fall of Berlin, 1945. Here's what he says about this incident. He's of course, quoting the passage that I read to you before about Eva Braun writing to her sister Gretl. Quote, "My diamond watch is unfortunately being repaired," she wrote. Gretl was to track down SS Unterscharführer Stegemann, who had apparently arranged to have it repaired by a watchmaker, almost certainly Jewish. Now, come on. Antony, I know you love to write dramatically, and you're a great writer, but this is, of course, based on absolutely nothing. It's just imagination on his part. It sounds great, but I can prove that it's wrong. At the same time, I'm going to come back to this business about Beevor in a moment, but I just wanted to throw something else in here, because, it's not just Heinz Linge who says things about Eva that turn out not to be true, but every witness in this case. And I just want to use one example of perhaps the favorite in the last 20 years, because Rochus Misch survived. He was one of those in the Hitler bunker who survived so long. He lived into the 2000s, and so he was widely interviewed and quoted. And his most famous book, Hitler's Last Witness, put together by the help of historian Roger Morehouse. Here's what he says. This is very interesting, because often in history, when you have people who know about the testimony of other people but haven't had a chance to really talk it over, they add details to stories to convince the reader that what they're saying makes them a credible witness. Rochus Misch, in a sense here, is trying to help Heinz Linge out with his little story, but as you will see, it doesn't really help. Here's the quote. "Soon after her second appearance," she's talking about Eva Braun, "she came to me in the lobby and handed me her watch. 'Ah, please, it doesn't work.' 'I'll have it seen to,' I promised. She handed it to me, a small patch of white gold, the face enclosed in diamonds. I took it to a jeweler in the Friedrichstrasse and collected it the next afternoon. The jeweler, Wiese, was still going, and so now was Eva's watch. I had a servant take it to her, and I was happy to have been a small service to her." Now, you see what he's doing here is he's trying to save Heinz Linge from embarrassment. He's adding some details to the story to make it seem like, well, Heinz Linge once upon a time had mentioned this watch. Now I'm a part of this too. I played a role in getting this watch fixed in an effort to get the watch back on Eva's wrist when she committed suicide. But it ain't going to work. Sorry, Rochus, and I can prove it. It doesn't work. First off, the jeweler that he mentioned, you can find it yourself if you want to look it up. It didn't take me really long, but he says, let me repeat, I took it to a jeweler in the Friedrichstrasse and collected it the next afternoon. So if Eva had arrived, for instance, on, let's say, April 14th, when she arrived, Misch is saying, I took the watch that was broken and I took it down to the jeweler Wiese, and Wiese's shop is on the Friedrichstrasse. Well, look, Wiese was another very famous Berlin jeweler watchmaker, and the store was not on the Friedrichstrasse. It was on the Artillerstrasse. So he doesn't get his details right. The effort here, obviously, again, is to try to add this cute detail to make sure that everybody knows that that watch that Eva was wearing, he knew about it. And, of course, it was on her wrist. And he got it on her wrist. He made sure it was fixed and got back on her wrist. And then she had it in time to commit suicide and perish and be burned with it on. Sorry, Rochus, doesn't work. Eva Braun, she wrote a will. She composed that will October the 24th of 1944, and she mentioned all sorts of things. Linge and Gunsche and Misch, they are fond of saying that Eva Braun was a modest girl, and in many ways she was. But Eva Braun also had a substantial collection of jewelry, and not inexpensive stuff. In addition to that, of course, she had very expensive tastes in clothes, which can be proven by just a cursory reading of her will. So she had several watches. She had several things that, one could be mistaken for the other. Well, in this case, it's pretty clear. We're talking about one particular watch, a platinum watch that is diamond studded, and that was not working. Now, of course, that watch that was not working was not sent to the jeweler Wiese. The watch was repaired by a master watchmaker, as you can see right here, by the name of Martin Stegemann. He had his shop on the Luderitzstrasse, which was in a part of Berlin where the German historic colonial section of Berlin would be, so to speak. In this part of town in particular, ironically, we have the Luderitzstrasse is named after the founder of what the Germans called German Southwest Africa, today called Namibia. And, of course, the leading connection economically between Germany and German Southwest Africa was the diamond trade. And so it was perfectly natural for Stegemann's shop to be in the diamond district of the city of Berlin. You notice, I've put up here on the screen again, Eva's letter to her sister Gretl. And I've done this one last time to emphasize two things. First, that this fellow is not Jewish. Martin Stegemann is an SS Unterscharführer. He happens to be an SS man who is involved in repairing items that are, for instance, given as awards to SS men. So he's a natural choice to repair Eva's watch, probably for free. Um, of course, we don't know that. That's just speculation. But one thing we know for sure is that uh, Antony Beevor's point that this fellow was, probably Jewish is ridiculous. And you see right below um, a clip from a Berlin address book where I found Martin Stegemann's business address. You can see here's a picture of the SS Lager Oranienburg. This is not a concentration camp, although there was a concentration camp nearby. Um, the reference that Eva makes in this letter is to, one of these SS camps where SS men and their families lived, not to a concentration camp itself. Uh, anyway, if you have enjoyed this video today, I hope you will leave a comment below, and I'll catch you on the third episode coming up next week.